The SR28 shared use path for CIVE 495. And here is our team from left to right: Andres, Andrea, Andre, Andrew, and last but not least, Zechariah. And we are A to Z Construction Services. Let's get started. First, there was Earth. Then, there was man. No, I'm just kidding. So, the project is the SR28 highway along Tahoe's coast in Nevada. And as you can see here, here's a general overview. It consists of two phases basically. One being the Ponderosa parking and the other being the undercross. First we'll talk about the Ponderosa parking because this is the first of the two phases. So this is the first area. This is the Ponderosa parking area in the first of the phases. And the reason why their design and construction is going on in this area is because people are parking on the side of the road and they are impeding on the flow of traffic for cyclists because they're parking in the bicycle lane. And there's also is a heavy area for sediment erosion. So we thought we'd kill two birds with one stone and increase the width of the road, not only helping the parking situation, but also putting in a drainage system with a infiltration basin to help with sediment control. We have designed this project so that the first phase is clearing and grubbing of these areas, and the next is following our SWIP procedure that we have designed and placing the proper BMPs. And we will now look at each section to show which BMPs will be implemented and why. This first area will be our staging area, and for tracking controls we will have a stabilized entrance and exit. We will also have a class 150 rip-wrap bedding over geotextile fabric. And for sediment control, we will surround it with a silt fence around the perimeter. We will now take a look at the adjoining area. This site consists of the adjoining area to the laydown area and the laydown area on the right-hand side of the screen. The laydown area has the aggregate base down and the silt fence. But since it's the laydown area, we are also going to need a stockpile management system, which requires plastic sheathing over all stockpiles with sediment logs around, held down by gravel bags. There will also be a concrete waste management and sanitary facilities, which is the portable toilets for waste management. We will place down our stabilized entrance and exits for tracking controls, as well as our silt fence around the perimeter and storm drain inlets for sediment control. We'll then look at our next area, which is our last area. And this area is pretty basic. We're just going to be putting a silt fence around the perimeter for sediment control and another portable toilet at the very end for waste management. Now let's zoom out and see the full construction site for this phase of the project. We have already talked about two of the portions that we'll be implementing. First, we will be clearing and grubbing these three sections, and then we will be putting in the proper BMPs following the SWIP document that we have designed. Now that the proper BMPs are in place, we will begin excavating and forming a trench for the upcoming RCP and PVC pipe that will be for the drainage system. The next step will be to lay in the drainage system and the infiltration basin, and based on our hydrology study, we will be putting in a 18-inch reinforced concrete pipe going to a 12-inch PVC, which will then lead into the infiltration basin. We will have 3 inlets on the way constructed to capture the flow of water going into the site. Once everything is installed, we will then backfill it and asphalt it over. While we are doing this, we will then form the sidewalk and curb along the shoulder to the adjacent property, and then begin our next portion of the design. The next portion of the design is installing the EPIC drain system, which stands for Environmental Passive Integrated Chamber System. And this is going to be done after excavating down 2 feet in the brown area above, as you can see, and we will then install the system. The system consists of epic chambers, which are basically perforated pipes that look more like half cylinders, and the bottom is lined so that it is waterproof, and each chamber consists of a 2-inch PVC pipe that connects one chamber to the next to allow water to flow from one chamber to the next as one gets full. Once the system is installed, we will then be backfilling it with a 1/4-inch washed aggregate, which allows for the capillary physics of the system, and then topping that with permeable pavers, which will allow water to seep through into the system. Now that everything is done, we will be following the SWIP plan that is shown here. We will be putting a wood mulch in between the street and the newly constructed shared pathway for parking and cyclists. This wood mulch will allow for site stabilization after we have left. Now let's head over to the next location, which is the undercrossing. The location for the undercrossing is here. Since this location is adjacent to a very popular beach, they want to put in an undercrossing using a box culvert. So we will be installing a box culvert, and we will also be installing an infiltration basin for sediment control. We'll zoom in into this area, and similar to the Ponderosa parking area, we'll be putting in the BMPs first. Following our SWIP procedures, we'll be putting in a sanitary facility, the portable toilets for waste management, and we will be constructing a silt fence around the perimeter, as well as putting in storm drain inlets for sediment control. We will then begin clearing and grubbing this area, creating a flat plane, for this will be our new laydown area. We will be putting a gravel base down for tracking controls. We will then go into the adjacent slope and cut and fill to a 2-to-1 slope, and then employ our proper BMPs following our SWIP document that we have created by putting in sediment logs at 10-inch spacing, and over that we'll be putting in a geotextile fabric for erosion and sediment control. So for this phase, we'll be excavating and putting in a box culvert, as well as constructing an infiltration basin similar to the Rancho Ponderosa parking area in phase 1, but a lot smaller. And this portion includes putting in the box culvert that has to cross the SR28 highway, and the state of Nevada in this area only allows 11 consecutive days for construction to impede on traffic flow. So for this reason, it was very important that we put a traffic management plan together that allows us to maximize our amount of time in which we process and put in this box culvert. The first thing we did was build a shoe fly or temporary road coming off of the main road, the SR28 highway, around majority of the box culvert, and then enacted our 3-phase traffic plan, which consists of a stage 1, stage 1A, and 2. During stage 1, as you can see, we will be closing down State Route 28 highway, and we will be putting flaggers on both sides of the temporary road that will allow traffic flow in one direction, going both ways, one at a time. While this traffic plan is being enacted, we will then begin excavating down and constructing our box culvert in the hatched orange area that you see above. There are 3 lines that run through this area where we need to put in the box culvert: a 16-inch effluent line force main, a 4-inch sewer force main, and an abandoned 16-inch effluent line. We will take the 16-inch effluent line, we will cap it and bury it below the box culvert, and the 16-inch effluent line force main and 4-inch sewer force main will be relocated below the box culvert, and then we will then begin constructing the box culvert on top of it. We will then begin stage 1A. We will open up the southbound lane on the SR28 highway and the northbound lane going on the temporary road so that traffic is not impeded as we then dig and put in our box culvert in between the permanent road and the shoe fly. We will finish up this portion enacting stage 2, in which we will remove the temporary road and open up SR28 going both directions. We will then begin construction on the last portion of the box culvert where the temporary road used to be and put flaggers on both sides of the SR28 highway for extra safety precautionary measures. Once everything is done, we will cap and bury the box culvert for future pedestrian undercrossing. We will then follow our SWIP procedure. We will remove the geotextile fabric and sediment rolls along the slope. We will then begin hydroseeding the slope, allowing for site stabilization after we have left. This is our capstone presentation, and we hope you enjoyed it. Thank you. Brought to you by A to Z Construction Services, changing the world one project at a time.